folks, so little early week update on how the Terminators are going for my sort of, not scratch build but quick build Imperial Fist Terminator set. So this is a follow-on from the video put up a couple of days ago. So I think I probably said before, but I'm going for a kind of quick, or fairly quick for me, paint job for these guys. So gone with a sort of standard Imperial Fist contrast to do the base coat, and then done a volumetrics. Let's knock some things down. Done a volumetrics with a 2-to-1 mix of the. Let's try and get that so you can see it. And then knocking too many things over. The Iron Jaws yellow, which is a nice sort of dirty yellow, and then the Eandon yellow, which is that slightly more orangey yellow, all along with this glazed medium by Vallejo. Okay, so if you saw the first video, you'll have seen that already. I find that really good. So you know, it wasn't dirt cheap, but it wasn't super expensive for 60ml. That should last a good while. But yeah, I kind of like to get my hand on a bigger bottle of that. But yeah, so let's give them some nice volumetrics. You can see that on the shoulder pad. Oops, let's try and get that in focus there. Cool, there's the shoulder pad there. You can see quite nicely there. Then also on the back, you can just see that sort of variation as it grades down. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going around and I've been trying to do things fairly quickly. I've got using my sort of preferred detailing brush, the little Montmart's Tachyon bristled super detail brush, which as you can see is a 16-0, so super thin, keeps a really nice point. Okay, really good point. Don't have enough of those, so I've just got some other variations through. Again, I've done a little vid of these the weekend. So these are Royal and Langdon, Lang Nickel, yellow Tachyon. Yeah, not bad, not quite keeping the same tip as the others. They do feel a little bit cheap as well, but going to persevere with those, see how those go. Been trying both those brushes. Just to get some of the detail in there, so you can see I've been using again contrast wildwood to get into the details and do some panel lining. There's a few little mistakes there, so I'll touch those a bit later. The joy of unforgiving yellow, just in the darkest points, underneath the breastplates, and you know, in those nice little recesses behind the helmet. So that's looking pretty good and been fairly quick so far. You can see I've done the Crux Terminators. I've hit those with a little bit of Ministratum grey and then just Agrax Earth shaded that. Those get a little highlight, probably a quick dry brush, and then a few little specks of white just to really bring those out. The helmet will be white, with a red stripe in this guy, or well, I might do red helmet with a white stripe. I haven't decided. I'll double check what that means in terms of the actual codex for the Imperial Fists. I'm going to go ahead and do some red on the Stormbolter. And then probably most things apart from that red cowling will be hit with some of the Vallejo metallics, probably not the aluminium, but that range, because they go on really well. They're airbrush thinned and ready, but they just paint on beautifully. They're normally one coat and you get a really strong finish with those. Then I'll hit some non-oil and stuff up, so it shouldn't be too hard essentially. And then for the Aquila, I've just noticed I can see a little bit of a dot on the end that needs touched up. Anyway, I've been hitting that with a Galvorbeck red, sorry. So keeping everything sit down at the moment for those, apart from the Vallejo glaze and the Vallejo silvers that will go on. What I'm really looking forward to doing is the power sword in this particular dude. Haven't quite decided yet whether I'm going to go with kind of a glazed, very bluey blade, or whether I'll just do a quick metallic blade and then do some blue lightning detailing. We'll see. I'm not quite sure on that. I know which one I like the most, but it takes the most time, and these are supposed to be fairly quick. And then I will probably end up putting some decals on just to make things fairly straightforward there. Obviously these are the push fit models from the Leviathan box set. Actually these are from a Combat Patrol, but it's the same thing, it's the same models. So that's the progression there so far. I think probably the thing I found hardest to do is getting to do the grills at the back. I have made a slight mistake on this, which I'm not sure if that'll focus close enough. You can see I've done a little bit of other painting there, a little bit annoying, but make that work. Still, that's the idea, and I'm kind of cracking through. You can see different stages there. Hitting the shoulder pads up with a bit of Black Legion and then a final coat of a Bad and Black, so it gives a much better finish. It's not as matte as the Black Legion, but again, these guys will have their white helmets. I'm going to experiment with using very heavily thinned down Corax white for the helmet, because it has that kind of bluey grey quality to it, and then I will end up painting those in, just so that the helmets are a real focal point. And again, on the Power Fists, what I'm probably going to do is a bit of checkerboarding. It'll either be that or it'll be hazard stripes, but I want the Power Fist to look really really positive, and again a sort of detailing point. For me, that's kind of harking back to the sort of the Road Trader days and Space Hulk, and those models from the early 90s, late 80s. Cool, so that's where we are. Only other thing to show you really there is this dude, so the captain. Love the pose this captain, really detailed again. So thing for him will be, let's get a brush to point the colour to go for the kind of the extra elements on the shoulder pads. So I was having a think in the journey home in the car today. Don't really want to go for gold because it's just too close in colour range to the yellow. So I'm going to just go for a straight metallic on that. I will probably go for gold on the old, I can't remember what it's called, but the power field thing on his back. But it's whether I do a straight silver on here or go for a bit of NMM. I feel pretty good about doing silvers with NMM, so we'll see. We might do that, but obviously it means everything else would need to be that as well. So things that are maybe a little bit different on this guy so far, you can probably just about see. Let's try and get him a bit closer again. On the knees, doing a few dots. Not sure how well they show up in here, but a kind of hardcore reflection points on him. Again, I will on the. Don't ask me why they've got these, but on the tilt shields, I'll end up doing some detailing there as well. Don't really want to go down the course of putting decals on there. That might end up being the way it is, but I would prefer to do some freehanding. And then the other big part for him, obviously, is his great big cloak. So that's just Blood Angels Red. So that will have a second pass just to get rid of some of the. Obviously, it's contrast in a big area, so it can be a bit tricky. But that Blood Angels Red covers really well, and there's some lovely deep fills there. But equally, there's some areas which need to go to be gone over again just to make it more opaque. And then I'll probably end up doing just some painted highlighting on there because that generally has a better effect. All of these, what I do want to do, I don't want them to look pristine, so I will go around doing a bit of weathering. That will probably be a little bit of sponging with Rhinox hide. It's pretty straightforward. Lots of people do that. It works very well. And then we'll see a few streaks and other things. I might even haven't decided on what I'm doing with the base colours yet. So I might even end up doing some sort of dusty shading on the legs. We'll see what we get to and how I feel about that. In terms of base, obviously they could be anywhere in the galaxy, but aesthetically browns are quite close to that yellow again, so you don't get much contrast, or unless that's what you want to blend. But that could be changed with putting kind of green grass shrubs and stuff on, or go for something like a grey or something different. But we'll see. I don't really want to go to kind of Martian reds. It'd be a little bit too garish. At the moment, that yellow is so strong, it will need something that's a bit more muted down, maybe a bit more organic looking. But again, we'll see when we get to that stage. I am looking forward to doing this guy's base. I know there's obviously loads of people have done this in the sort of almost 3 years of this since this box set came out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to putting some work on that Screamer killer head. As with most of my models, I will either use some base materials to then build up from that plastic. Oh, let's get that in focus again. Cool. From that plastic hard edge of the textured base that they give you, or I'll do some sand and stuff just so there's more of a blend there. Okay, but we'll get across that bridge when we get there. But yeah, so some good progress. For those of you who maybe suffer from a bit of painting fatigue, I definitely get that and sort of switch between projects very, very quickly. Not always finishing everything, but it's about enjoying what you do. However, I've been feeling quite good in the zone with this, and kind of dipping in and out of doing these guys here, and then work on the Nurgled, as you can see in the background from the Dark Water box set. all of them got different, different pluses and minuses. Cool. So another couple of days, hopefully I'll upload the latest set of progress with these guys. We'll see how that goes. If you want to drop me some comments and ask about how to do yellows, I've seen so many different ways of doing it and experiment with lots of different ways. They all have their positives and minuses. I think the key thing is that any yellow or light colour, yellow, white, etc., because any other colour you put beside it creates a stark contrast, it is less forgiving. So therefore you just have to work in slower and in more sort of careful increments and being careful about your detail. I don't think there's a real quick fix to that, and if anyone tells you that, they're probably telling you porcupines. Anyway, have a lovely evening or day wherever you are. I look forward to speaking to you again soon. And yeah, Mercs Mini is out. See you later.